you said I'm getting defensive.
A little bit.
I am, but you also just completely blindsided with a crazy point. Like I said, that
you
we're not
made me.
able to go.
Well, I was trying to move forward
because we were talking about relationships, and then you just turned it to something completely different.
Well, I thought it was about Mother's Day.
I thought this episode was about Mother's Day too.
But I just think it's weird that I be getting blindsided like this all the time, and then he be like not letting me talk about it.
Being blindsided.
Hashtag ambush guru.
That's not a blindside.
I didn't see it like that.
Yeah, I didn't see it. See, that's what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. And you can apply that to relationships. People take constructive criticism as
constructive criticism.
Blindside
is one-on-one when we're talking, having other conversations.
I don't agree. You're doing
like,
a podcast where you're sharing your life with the world.
I gotcha. You're sharing your life with the world. We've talked about what we wanted to share, and you continue to disrespect that. That's what I'm saying.
All right, back to Mother's Day.
So I do feel very disrespected right now. I do feel very blindsided. We're going to keep going on the Mother's Day.
All right, apologize.
But I want to make that known.
Let me reset. Welcome to another episode of Nothing's Ever That Serious. We got a sign.
You see it.
And we got a special holiday episode.
Probably the most special.
The most special. We got a special Mother's Day episode.
Yes.
And we have a very special guest today.
Probably the most special.
The most special guest. But before we get to that, we just want to say happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there.
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day, Mommy.
Thank you.
No, he said that.
That was to his mom.
You trying to steal my mom?
And this is to my mom. Happy Mother's Day.
She's our mom too.
This is just to you.
All three moms. We're all
happy Mother's Day. We also want to take a moment, recognize people who, Mother's Day might be a difficult holiday for them. You know, they're also in our thoughts too. Mm-hmm. So, and I just want to say that because, for example, Father's Day. While that might be a joyous holiday for some, that's not my favorite holiday. But again, like I said, we have a very special guest today.
That's right.
We have my mother, Zena. Can we go ahead and welcome her?
That's right.
Thank you for coming and being with us. Are you nervous?
Mama Bear is here.
She's a little nervous. We had to kidnap her.
Yes.
But she's here. We picked her up fresh from the hospital with a new heart.
Yep.
Some of you guys know us from the video where she went in for a heart procedure.
Yes. Yep.
That might have been the hardest I've seen you and Guru laugh.
Beforehand.
If you do you remember I showed you the video about us or about you when I was telling them that you went in for the heart pacer procedure, and what'd you think about that video?
Well, first of all, I did not know when you called me
that you were on air,
that I was on air.
Okay, yeah.
So
I set you up.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, I kind of set them up too. Y'all didn't know that I was being serious because I joke a lot.
Yes.
You apologized to me for laughing. Do you want to take this opportunity to apologize to my mom?
Bear. I was so sorry. It's hurting me to this day. You see, I'm shaking.
Guru, do you want to apologize? You asked what type of battery it was.
Xbox controller.
He said he needs those batteries.
I was genuinely curious. But yes, I do want to apologize if any ill will was taken.
No, but that video actually got 1.2 million. No, more than that because of TikTok.
Got the memes.
It's split across a few places.
Mm-hmm. So that video's gotten over 2 million views.
Got them M&Ms.
You're famous.
That's right.
Wow.
It was actually going to her head a little bit. She said, I was like, we start at 7. What time are you going to be here? And she said she was waiting on the limo to come pick her up. We're not quite at that level yet.
Not yet.
We're going to get there. So you apologize to my mom.
Yes.
I appreciate you doing that.
Of course.
Do you guys want to, since it's Mother's Day, Do you want to apologize to your mothers for how you guys turned out?
For being born? Mom, I'm so sorry. No, actually, she knows I'm a knucklehead. So
Just let her know you tried your
Mama,
best.
I'm trying. I'm trying to do my best, but I fall short.
What about you, Guru? Are you living up to expectations?
Yeah, I'm sorry I didn't pick better friends and you have to watch them pick on speech impediments and all this other stuff every episode. I should know better.
We gotta have your parents on one day because I want to know what that was like to. Because that's gotta be traumatizing if you're taking your baby home from the hospital and they're crying. Like the normal cries are like, wah! But he probably was like, wait, did that impede your crying? Can you ask him that for me? I give him a hard time because
That's wild.
That is
I give him
wild.
a hard time because you should be proud of him. He actually didn't Chris you said have to do speech therapy?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Chris did not speak until he was 5.
Oh, okay.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, so Guru had to overcome that. And look at him now. Now he's a guru spitting wisdom. And it only takes 4 takes.
But when I laugh, it's only because he's overcome it.
But yeah, we appreciate you coming and being on our show. And we appreciate, even though I didn't tell you that, I was using you on that video. But how do you feel since then? Do you want to give an update how you're feeling since then?
I feel great. I had the pacemaker, a brand new one, the whole thing. Plus, they put in a defibrillator, and I think they made 2 veins. So I think I have a brand new heart, and I really do feel the difference, except that I get extremely tired.
Okay. Do you know what a defibrillator is?
Only in the glass box in the gym. But
oh yeah,
because you see at the basketball games they got the little case. But
you know what that is? That pumps the heart if it that's actually in her.
Wow.
So isn't that how it works? If your heart drops
to a certain, because I was only getting 15 beats per minute, so I was always tired.
Okay.
But now I get at least 50 beats, which is amazing.
Awesome.
And the normal heart beats at 60.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm doing great, and I'm so thankful to God. Mm-hmm. And I'm thankful for the doctors. I'm thankful for technology that can afford you a better life,
right?
Quality life.
Were you scared that day? Were you nervous?
No.
I don't believe you.
Actually, I was not scared at all because I knew the way I felt something was definitely off, and the cardiologist keeps saying it's not your pacemaker. Mm-hmm. So when they found out that my heart was beating below 30%. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's when they realized I needed a pacemaker plus a defibrillator.
Wow. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. But now I feel wonderful. I feel I can live up to 100 years old. Mm. Yeah, I love life right now. Mm-hmm. I love to see the successes of my children, of young people.
Mm-hmm. His success too.
Yeah, Jay gives me a hard time that he likes to give my basketball where I peaked.
Just really quick. It's, when you say children's success, is all of it the same to you? Like if the kids achieve something, are you just equally happy, or do you be like, "Whoa, you did this! Oh, you did this!" And then you get to him and you like, "Well, you did something. you did it."
Were you just as proud as me as Chris? That's what he's asking.
You know what? I am proud of all of you the same way. This is the first time I'm going to reveal my true heart.
Oh, no, this doesn't sound good.
And if I were to do it again as a mom, none of you will be playing college ball.
Ooh.
I never said this out.
That's exclusive right now.
I never said that out loud, but you guys put so much time into sports, and I did too, because I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the travel. I enjoyed the excitement. I mean, it was the highlight. And even now I reminisce and look back and I said, goodness, I wish if I could do those traveling again.
Yeah, I'm surprised to hear you say that, because that was like the highlight of your going to those big college games. You know, when my brother was playing, you know, UVA or West Virginia and playing in these 20,000 seat arenas.
Yeah,
you
but
loved that.
I love your games too.
Yeah,
you keep
all 20 people.
stressing.
That's including the players and
She
the
got
coach.
close to the court on those. So
They let her play a couple games.
she was coaching.
They're like, come in and take a shot.
It's like she go to all these other games. You got to spend all this money. Your game is free. Concessions was free.
I kind of get what you're saying, though.
Yeah, I look back and I realize that if you had spent that much on academics, you probably would have
Been a lawyer and not a podcast.
But that's not true, because everybody has different skills, and I'm going to disagree with you on that, because basketball, I think, afforded me the opportunity, because you always wanted us to have a college education, and Chris got a free ride to go to school. And for me, even as a recruit, because I wasn't the brightest, you pushed us to do well in school, but I never found like academics like my area. Like I did well just because I was, you know, I'm naturally smart. Like I got by.
Yeah.
But I mean, even when I was going to college, like the coaches went directly to the admissions office and was like, I want to bring this player in. But it wasn't until I was in college that I was like, okay, well, maybe I'm not going to make, because I thought I was going to the NBA up on, even during the D3 games.
Thank you. You said the right word there. I think I
That's
would
right.
go to the NBA. And I disagree with you, because if you had put in the same amount of time and passion in your academics, you know, I think you would have been amazing, because I think when you were in first or second grade, this student, we're going to keep files, academic files on him, because, you know, they found you gifted. And as a matter of fact, I do have the letter.
I was in the gifted program.
Hey,
Yeah,
so
he
was
was
I, buddy. Now look at us.
But I think you were not driven maybe with academics, because I could remember you were in middle school. I always pick you guys up. And the first thing I always ask, did everybody had homework? And he always said, oh, no, I did my homework at school. So I believe. And when the report card came in the mail, Andrew had missed every homework assignment.
The lie detector determined that was a lie.
I don't know if you remembered what happened to you.
Oh, yeah. I still got scars to this day.
But what I'm building up to is that you had to motivate him. He was so bright, but yet I didn't think he found his passion. And maybe you found your passion in kindergarten, because he always had notes in his bag. And those notes was... Andrew was the class clown today. He was making the class laugh.
Also known as referrals.
Yes. In school suspension.
And I got scars.
Detention.
I got scars to show for those too.
You don't got the slips no more, but you got the marks.
And I could remember I used to be so upset. And you know, with a West Indian background, I did not understand that you could be a comedian and be very successful in the U.S. You know, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So I would take a belt and I would like, you will not be a comic.
So you beat the funny out of him.
She did.
And that's why we struggling right now.
With genuine leather.
But that's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say,
because there wasn't no vegan leather belts back then. So you got the real stuff.
Yeah. So you're saying two contradictory things, because you're saying you wouldn't have let us focus on sports. You would have had us focus more on academics. But I think nowadays what they're finding is that not everybody, you know, that was the message back in the day. Go to school. Yeah. Everybody had to go to school. Everybody has to do well. But that's not everybody's calling. Right. Some people are more good with trades, good with their hands. Some people are smart. Some people are entertaining. Some people are like, right brain, creative people. And like she was saying, I was a class clown. I used to watch Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Will Smith.
I knew every line.
Yeah, I would know every line, and then I would go the next day and like interrupt the teacher.
Yes.
Wow.
And I would like, oh, that's a good joke. I'm gonna tell that in class tomorrow.
Okay.
But yeah, like she said, I would get in trouble from the teacher, and then she beat the funny out of me.
She beat the funny.
But what you're saying, you're very correct. I mean, I know that now, but I did not know that then. Just think about my situation, a single mom, and I'm making this sacrifice, sending you guys to our little private school, hoping, you're going to do well. And it was not only my sacrifice, it was a lot of people's sacrifice. And I don't want to ever leave that out, because a lot of times in my prayer, I always thank God for the people that help, because there's no way I could have make those tuitions, but there were always people who were willing to donate, and I
always wondered about that. Why did they do that? Why our family?
You guys were not the only kids that were helped, of course.
Well, yeah, of course.
But I'm not being prejudiced when I say this. You guys were really well-behaved kids. I even think back that I can call you guys latchkey kids. I could have been in jail. Because
what does that mean?
If you remember, I left you guys so many times.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, did you have babysitters growing up? We babysitted ourselves. Four little kids, we couldn't reach the top of the counter. We were like, what are we going to eat?
No, I used to leave the cereal on the table.
Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, you guys were so amazing, because there was a lot of times I always work 7 to 7 on Sundays, just to make up the income for the week. And I would leave instructions like, do your homework. And I would leave even extra assignments. You guys remember you had to write paragraphs. I will come home and everything was done. I mean, there was a couple times that I remember a neighbor called me, and I think you guys had locked Matthew out the house in the dead of winter without a coat.
You're like, he locked out, but they laughing at him.
Were you only child?
No, I got 2 brothers, 3 of us. Yeah. Okay. I was the youngest.
Did y'all have daycare or?
No daycare.
Okay. Who was the leader in the group?
Instructions were given to the oldest, but we all found a groove, and it was like a team, Also to offer a different perspective academic wise, because I met you in school too. Right. I would say that I did think you were very bright too, but it's just because you light skin. But now mentally, I don't know, but
yeah. But yeah, I kind of want to touch a little bit on the discipline, because, we were well behaved. I think you're saying that as to give us credit for being well behaved, but we didn't have a choice. Those instructions were left with the belt right there next to it,
hanging on the doorknob.
As a reminder.
You would just hear the buckle clinking, just cling, cling, cling.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I look back, with the knowledge I have now, I would not discipline the same, and I really mean that from the bottom of my heart. But what I did then...
Well, the statute of limitations has run out, so you're safe.
You're safe.
I don't think they can...
What I will do now, what I have learned would be much, much different. But I'll still, discipline, because children need discipline.
Because the belts back then were strong. Like, one belt can hold up. 10 people can stand on it. The belt won't break, won't bend, nothing. Just...
How were you disciplined, Guru? Because you need some. Me and Guru live together. Sometimes I'm tempted to get the belt out. So I could tell he wasn't disciplined growing up. Did you get the belt, Guru?
Yeah, I definitely got a belt.
Okay, not enough, bro.
But you were the baby. I'm surprised.
I was middle.
Oh, you were the middle. Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
What about you?
Know it well, sir. Know it well.
You know it well too. Okay. It was hard. I'll be honest. It was hard as kids. It was hard like having that fear that any expectation that you didn't live up to.
You don't want to let nobody down.
Yeah, you don't want to let them down. Yeah. But you could also, aside from, if I misbehave or I make a mistake or something, I'm just a kid. I could be beat for this, or I could be, have that shame put on me from my mom. And as a kid, you don't really understand yet why you're doing it. And I'll give an example too of kind of like how it's translated to us as adults. For me, I would say in some of my relationships, we've talked about it on this show. We actually had an episode where we talked about the word we used was giving constructive criticism. It's been seen as a negative where like I would hold people to like kind of like the same standards, like be the best version of yourself, or I would push. Why are you smiling, Guru?
Continue. I don't
know. I don't know if I want to give this example now. Guru, why are you smiling?
Well, you can finish.
Like me, myself, not even being perfect or knowing how to, have a successful relationship, because we never had an example of a relationship. After our dad left, you weren't in relationships, like you were just working and raising us. So I had no idea how to be in a relationship. Yet when I would get in relationships, I would find areas of improvement from in my partner, and I'd be like, oh, you could do this better, or you could do this better. You're not living up to like my expectation. And I was just like, this is what my mom did to me. I would leave a list for somebody I was dating, and I would tell them if they don't meet these, they're gonna get the best.
You put it on the refrigerator. You be like, hold on. When I get back.
You know what? You made a very, very good point that you had to live up to this strict expectation. I understand where you're coming from, and because it does kind of kill creativity. Yeah, and I could remember this happened just 2 weeks ago, because maybe part of that type of background is still in my mind, because I always tell my grandson, you're going to be a doctor and you're going to be a cardiologist. So when I was up there and I bought him a little doctor suit and his little glasses, so I was showing him the picture of a heart, and I was telling him, one day you're going to fix people's heart and you're going to fix grandma's heart. And I was trying to indoctrinate him.
Right.
Yeah. So after we read the little book, I thought I had indoctrinated him. So I said, so what you're going to be? He says, Nana, I'm going to be a pilot. So you see, it's so indeed the way I was probably killed a lot of creativity. And I'm sorry, for all the mistakes I made. But it's at that time you only do what you know that you think is right.
Right.
But
I don't think there's anything wrong with like encouraging because those things aren't easy to be a doctor, to be a pilot.
Right.
Those things aren't easy, and that's why, parents encourage kids at a young age to strive for, certain
reach for the stars.
The other thing is, if you look at generations, I don't want to say this is the first generation you can be anything, but this is the first generation you could be anything. So even if we just go a few generations back and you look at racism and just everything else that's been in place in the world and where they come from and just or just the world they came up in, it wasn't possible to be a comedian. Right. It was like you guys saw the first, the Eddie Murphys and the people like that who were trailblazing. So to even expect for them to be able to encourage that or push you, it's like it was impossible. So it's not like it was I'm killing your dream, but like you really are going after something that isn't doable. And now I know we have a different mindset where anything's available to you, but that wasn't always the case.
Because we were making funny videos before Vine and before TikTok, but it was on a camcorder.
Yep. Yeah, because you saw it up close, because I think you was sophomore, Eddie Murphy was a senior.
But anyway, what were you laughing at when I said that I kind of adopted her critiques and like holding people to those standards.
As you kept explaining yourself, you kind of said what I was thinking, and it's more, which is why I said just keep going, but it's more so like you started out being like constructive criticism, but I think a lot of it isn't necessarily coming from a constructive place or the proper constructive place. It's kind of like a perspective or an idea or like, I don't think it's necessarily based in the proper things or right things.
I'll give you more concrete examples. It's just like the way my mom was, it was like you didn't allow us to be lazy. Like we wanted to be kids and just lay around. Like we'd be like, oh, we don't have school today. And she'd be like,
oh, yeah, you do.
She would wake us up at like 6 a.m. with a list. She's like, we going to turn this house top to bottom. We're going to clean everything. We like, we only got 3 pieces of furniture. But we would be scrubbing the house and cleaning and reading and like studying.
What is lazy? So this is what I mean by perspective, because you can have an idea of how your life is supposed to go, but other people are completely different. Right. So we're creatives and artists. So I've met so many people. I mean, they go to work every day, they come home, and they're so happy in that. They enjoy their jobs, they enjoy their lives. Me personally, I could never sit in a job there and be in a satisfied state where I'm like, I don't know, like I go home and then it's an extra thing of being like, oh, I have to get to this dream or I have to do this extra stuff. Right. So there's not that downtime. But for them, they're living their life, they have everything they want. So once they leave, like that relaxation is like,
no, and I get
that's not lazy. It's like,
and I don't want
what you want.
Right. And I don't want to talk about that too much because we talk about it on another episode where Kemp's trying to teach me that, where it's like I would push people to do things the way I see it, or it's like, I'm pushing myself in all my pursuits.
Just another example, like even when we got ready, we went to hang out one time, and then as we were walking out the door, I looked at him. Cause you had like a pretty serious face on. I said, "You all right?" You was like, "You ain't tie your shoes fast enough." So I'm like,
"I'll give you a more concrete example."
I don't even want you to go say push though, because I think that's where you get stuck at, where you're like, I'm trying to push people to be their best. So when you say you push people, I think it's from a perspective of that, where you're trying to push them out of something that's like not even a role they need,
right?
And it's like you're saying you're not doing enough, but they are. I've gotten in certain altercations with people and friends and stuff like that because I approached it that way, and I had to like relearn how I was looking at it and being like, we do 2 different things. Like, why am I trying to put that on them?
Yeah, coming back to what you said about giving people a list, in relationships, I think I understand where you're coming from, but because I had that problem too, especially at work, I would be micromanaging and you do not get along with people. But I think once you realize that no one is flawless,
right?
Once you realize that no one is perfect,
right?
And then you start accepting people' weaknesses. And I think you can have a better relationship. Because when you start recognizing yourself,
right.
Yeah,
that's all I was talking about. Is like, I'm starting to kind of take on the opposite perspective too, where Guru's teaching me that you don't have, like, not everything has to be excellent.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Some things aren't flaws; they're perspectives, and that's what I think you have to learn.
Do you want me to give? I'll give you I'll give you an example.
You can.
I'll give you another example, and then we'll move on.
I want you to give me an example. However, this example is going to prove your point. I know that. However, I know you as a whole person, so I know everything you look at isn't always necessarily a flaw. It's just a different perspective. But give your example.
So this podcast, I'm so happy to meet you guys. Like, people always talk about like our chemistry and just the way like the 3 of us came together. And me and Jay kind of met, and then we were like, who can we bring on? And we were like, we could think of the perfect guy to come on. And he's talented, and he knows all the tech stuff. And then I don't think none of us saw, because you came in and you were like, I'll help y'all with the equipment stuff.
Yeah, but then a tech guy.
But look how he's become, like, he's your favorite character.
The voice of the people.
He's a voice of reason on this show. So he's became a huge
people's champ.
A huge part of that. what I talk about in terms of like that expectations, where it's like my mom drove us to like be diligent and like things had to be done like a right way. Whereas like you're more, I would say like, and you said this too, you're more like laissez-faire. And if you go back to our very early episodes, you notice how I used to be like, Guru, did you? There was a joke.
It became a running joke.
It became a running joke where I was like, did you check the camera? Did you check the audio? Did you do that? And y'all were like, get off his back. Like let him do it. And I'm just like, okay. I just noticed that, you know, he's chill. What was the word? It's not a flaw. It's just a different way of doing stuff. I'm just relaxing.
This is a very different example.
I'm not done with my
example.
example.
And then I'll explain.
And then, so we're podcasting, and then I noticed that, like, Jay's head would be chopped off, or we or we would lose audio or something. And so I would tell Guru, I say, hey, those are things that, we could avoid if, we were just a little bit more diligent or whatever. And he's like, get off his case, let him do it. So I was like, yeah, let me get off of his case. Let him produce how he produces. I don't have to micromanage him. If there's an episode where your mic is off and we don't hear anything you say, or the camera dies, it's not that big of a deal. But I always strive, I told you this too, Guru. You were like, I think people would forgive us, but I was like, no, we have, like, look at the guests that we've been able to have on, like Kev on stage. He said he went through our catalog and he's looking, and we've had debates where you've been like, just post that. It's not perfect. We had an issue. I'm like, we can't post everything we post has to be the best to our ability. And that's what I'm saying. That's kind of where I'm saying I'm not saying it's a positive. I don't look at it as a positive. That's what she would push us to. Like, I was like, hey, I got an A+. She's like, how many points is that? Could you have got an A++? And I'm like, so it's like I'm seeing how it's kind of carried into my adult years, and it's not always the best thing, Hold on, I want to hear his.
Oh, okay.
So this is what I meant. Like, you're gonna aim a very specific point, because I'm talking about further. You start talking about relationships.
But I'm saying I do that in relationships too.
Yes, but in certain relationships, in certain things, there's not a concrete, visible kind of scale you can look at.
Right.
This is how I want to live my life. It's not a concrete scale of this is good or bad, yet you're like, I want you to live my life or your life the way I would do this. And that's very different. On that point that you brought up, however, so I think that's kind of...
Wait, is your camera rolling?
I think that's unfair to say for a lot of different reasons. I don't want to necessarily get into all of them, but
I do want to say, we've talked about this a lot.
Love for you to look at this room, the setup, everything that's going on, how many things are running, how many things that I have no control over.
I agree
how
with you.
many things that you necessarily didn't know how to do when we started this and everything else. So we can talk about that.
I'm glad you said that, because I did want to say that too.
Cook him.
I did want to say that.
Cook him.
So I do walk into this and I do give it my attention, and I am putting a lot into it. Not everything necessarily comes together properly all the time. And the things I have said to put out, I still stand by putting them out. And I still think if we put them out, they would have done very, very well. Because it's not a quality yet where it's like completely...
I don't know. Like, people like Jay's dimples. You want to chop his head off?
It's like, I mean, we're on YouTube, and it is like, you understand what that world is. Like, even when I say we should put this stuff out, it's because I've said it's real. And it's down to earth. And it's like, yeah, there's mistakes. We're not hiding behind these mistakes. And you're like, oh, but we want to be like, I don't know, what's a big HBO show? And I'm like, but we're not that, Drew. Like, we're not getting paid millions of budgets to put this stuff out. We're not doing, and like, these are real things that are going to connect people to us. So even the stuff I've said put out and things like that, I have very thought out producer reasons, and just being in this creative field that's why I'm making that choice. And I still stand by that if we did a lot of those things, that it would actually, even with mistakes, I know this sounds crazy, would bolster, what is that word?
Bolster, yeah.
Our portfolio even more with those mistakes in it. And I still stand by that. But I do get what you're saying. There have been a few things where I'm not necessarily always coming in here fully just there because of other things going on. And so I do appreciate the reminder every now and then, but it has gotten to, or in the past, we've talked about this a lot. It's gotten to a point where it's like, all right, you're doing a little too much, or like you're, so.
Right. Yeah, so that's what I mean.
Different conversation or point.
Right. And I agree not to spend too much time on this, but I agree with everything you said. I've told him that.
It's very interesting that he chooses a point like that we don't have time to jump into or discuss. So he tries to set it up like it's something.
Get cut. But
no, it's just there. He tries to set it up like it's something that's like very particular, and then you don't really have time to jump into it or talk it. So that's
he's saying he could cook you, but he gonna let you live. That's what he's.
That's one of those comes out of left field, out of nowhere, and tries to like.
Well, I would like to comment. I like to comment. I see it both ways. As
cook 'em, Mom.
As Guru said, it's a learning process, and when you're real, people understands. But I think we got to get to the point where we are not afraid of criticism, because constructive criticism, because I think it just helps us to grow and become a better you. Commenting on Andrew, what he's saying, the world is very competitive. If I'm watching a show, that show only have about maybe less than a minute before I turn, because I look at different podcasts and programs on YouTube. A lot of podcasts, and just sometimes the way it starts, it's a turn off, and I find another podcast. So I think you just your goal have to be perfection,
Right.
And that's all just I'm your best, just your best at all times.
At all times.
At all
and that's
times.
all I'm saying.
But if you mess up, it's okay. It's okay.
And like he said, I'm glad he made that.
This podcast is only edited the way it's edited because I started a part of it. The way you wanted to edit this podcast as any other podcast.
You're getting a little defensive because I agree.
Yeah,
I've told you that what stuff you do over here and still be able to listen and contribute is beyond amazing.
This is what I'm saying.
And this show wouldn't go without you.
You said I'm getting defensive.
A little bit.
I am, but you also just completely blindsided with a crazy point. Like I said, that we're not able to go.
I was trying to move forward
because we were talking about relationships, and then you just turned it to something completely different.
Well, I thought it was about Mother's Day.
I thought this episode was about Mother's Day
too.
But I just think it's weird that I be getting blindsided like this all the time, and then he be like letting me talk about it.
You're not being blindsided.
Hashtag ambush guru.
That's not a blind side.
I didn't see it like that.
Yeah, I didn't see it. See, that's what I'm saying. And you can apply that to relationships. People take constructive criticism as
constructive criticism.
Blindside
is one-on-one when we're talking, having other conversations.
I don't agree. You're doing a podcast where you're sharing your life with the world.
I gotcha. You're sharing your life with the world. We've talked about what we wanted to share, and you continue to disrespect that. That's what I'm saying.
All right, back to Mother's Day.
So I do feel very disrespected right now. I do feel very blindsided. We're going to keep going on the Mother's Day.
All right, I apologize.
But I want to make that known. And this is because of other conversations we've had off, and then you bring them on.
Can we reset?
Yeah, I'm ready. I mean, you can leave that in. I don't care.
No. I wanted to know why you were smiling because we were talking about relationships, and I agree that relationships are different. I was just trying to make the point that sometimes I do hold people to expectations and don't allow that room for failure, but I don't think we should keep that
and you are blaming me for that.
Right. Honestly, I don't think we should keep that in.
No, I know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But no, I don't. It wasn't coming off as like as
finger pointing.
Yeah, because we've, like you said, we've had that conversation.
I know, and I've also had the conversation that I don't really want to do this podcast, and the fact you keep throwing stuff like that, I'm bothered right now because it's weird that you keep doing stuff like that. So I am bothered, and I'm trying to bring it back together so we can finish this pod. But I want you to know,
let's pause.
I feel like you be doing dirty stuff like that. So.
Guru, the show, the podcast would not be anything without
I
you.
agree. I agree, and I really enjoy it.
You don't think that I think
that's
that?
A fact.
still
Andrew, the
pushing
podcast.
to make somebody else's dream be a thing, and I'm just like, it's tiring when you keep coming at me when I'm doing that.
Do you think that I think that this podcast could happen without you?
No.
And it cannot happen without you, Andrew, and it cannot happen without you, Jay.
Right.
Oh, I know that.
You guys you have so much chemistry, and I admire you guys.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I wasn't meaning to criticize you, honestly.
But you know what? Andrew was making the point that because of my strict expectations, that causes him to do the same. Right. So I think he was just giving you a demonstration, that, you know.
Yeah, I'm aware of what he was doing. Yeah, so.
Okay, I don't think he meant it in a bad way. Yeah. Right.
Are you sorry?
Mm-hmm. I didn't mean to blindside you. Let's take a moment.
I'm sorry, Guru.
Oh, no, I'm fine.
You're fine?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, because, you know, I always tell Andrew that you bring everything together because I like your thoughts and I trust your comments. You know, to me, you bring everything back together. You know, I always expect you to say morally right things, you know. I don't know if I depend on Andrew all the time to do that, you know.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, you guys mesh well together, and relationships is about, you know, misunderstandings. It's okay.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Yeah. And even one day you're going to be married and your wife going to say something and it's going to hurt you, but you can't walk away. You got to sit down and talk and hash it out, you know? Yeah, so.
You good?
Yeah, I'm good.
And maybe Drew got too many beatings. That's what it is. He did get the most beatings.
All right, man. Let's do this. Sincerely. Not for real. Like, you guys know how much you mean to me in this, you know, not even from a podcast or just as a person, you know. So that had no negative intent. Mm-hmm. All right. Let's do it. I guess what I'm trying to say is I kind of like adopted the same kind of thing in my life. Okay. You always have to strive for perfection. Okay. And it's like I'm probably the most flawed, and I'm here you know, trying to get you to, you know. But then I look at like my sister, you know, we grew up the same with that same kind of burden of expectation. And my sister was the emotional one in the family. Do you remember she would cry for everything.
And then I would give her something to cry for.
that was the line. She
that line, like, I give you something to cry for, rings in my ear to this day. Sometimes I wake up on my seat, cry.
No, but she was so emotional.
Yeah.
Every little thing. My mom was like, "You're not gonna make it through this world, you know, being that soft."
Okay. Yeah. So I was scared of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But she would cry, and she needed like a different approach. You know, you gave her that tough love, but now she's starting to realize, just like in her life, that, you know, she's accomplished so much. You know, she's a lawyer.
Yeah. Hey, friend of the show. She's been on the episode.
Yeah, friend of the show. She's a lawyer, and she's accomplished so much. She's like so smart and so intelligent. Mm-hmm. She's does so much for like her church, and so heavily involved in like her community, and does so much, but yet she struggles. And I don't want to share too much of her story because she's not here, but she struggles just trying to feel that she's done enough.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Feeling like, and so she'll have conversations with me, and I'm like, wait, so I have a struggling podcast. I'm like the failing child of the family. And, you know, you got this.
Played higher division basketball than me. I'm sorry. That was irrelevant. I'm sorry.
Right. And it's like you're still like struggling to feel like you're enough, or that you've done enough. And she shared this with you too, hasn't she?
Yeah, she has. As I look back now, you know, she was a very emotional child. But again, coming back from my background, I did not know how to handle that. I did not realize my daughter needed probably counseling. She needed more affection, maybe a hug. At the time, I didn't know that. Just think about this. I dropped you guys off in the morning. I went into work, pick you guys up, and we rush and we make dinner. And I said, everybody do their homework and get a bath. Y'all used to take your baths at night. So when you get up in the morning, you just had to wash your face and brush your teeth. And then I would, I think, at least four nights a week, I used to do the 11 to 7. Mm-hmm. And then I would tell you guys, be ready at 7 o'clock when I pump the horn, you almost have your clothes on. And so it was so rigid. Mm-hmm. So when do you have time, or when do you have time to think that this child needs counseling, this child needs a hug, this child needs personal time? Mm-hmm. Now I look back and I realize that, but there's nothing really I can do at this point. And then I could remember I did not have the knowledge of diabetes. Mm-hmm. And since we were living in Atlantis, I used to be falling asleep in the car downstairs, but I didn't know my blood sugar was so high. And it's to one evening, I could not wake up, and she took me to Now Care. And my sugar was like nearly 700, So that's why I used to be like that. But, not having the knowledge
but
that...
you were also working.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. You're working and...
She did the 11 to 7 night shift, would get up, take us to school, and then you would have to go to work during the day.
Right.
And then you worked overnight.
Right.
And then you were raising us outside of school.
Exactly. So it was so hectic. It was always hectic. And so now I look back, I would do things so much different, Everybody's needs were so different. Cheryl's needs were different. Chris was always really, really quiet. You were really, really helpful, but then, you had your own little struggles, I'm pretty sure. And I could remember some years ago, you told your brother that you were very fearful of coming home because you were scared of me. I cried that whole day because I never knew you were scared of coming home. Were you really?
It's interesting that you say that everyone has different needs, because even though I said that I was scared to go home, but that was because I was looking for more of that, like, freedom. Like, I would, go over to like my friend's house and they would talk back to their mom and I would be like, oh, I wish I could do that. So that's what I meant in terms of like, I was, just wanting to express myself more. Right. I was that expressive type, but having that West Indian background or that strict rigidness, I wasn't allowed to do that. So that's kind of what I meant more in terms of like, I was scared to go home because I felt, suppressed. I wasn't able to express myself.
That's one of the things that to this day I give my parents credit for, because we had rules and stuff like that. They kept us in line, but some of the stuff that played such a part in what I do today, I appreciate them for letting it happen. Like, we had bedtimes, but I could still watch TV till I went to bed. So I was watching stuff that maybe my friends didn't get to see. Right. Like how you saw Fresh Prince, you go home and do the jokes. I would watch like Comic View and go to school and like perform and stuff like that. And it was kids who parents were like, nah, the TV going off and stuff. So they allowed me to, express different avenues and stuff under some guidelines, Sometimes I felt like maybe, been too strict, but I give them credit to this day.
And coming back to Cheryl, because it bothers me a lot, but I think that she's doing a lot of reading, and I realized that she has have to make a complete paradigm shift as well as you. You cannot keep holding people to all these high expectations, I think, first of all, you got to hold yourself first to those expectations before, you can hold others. And then you have to have a way of doing it correctly, Yeah, but if I look back given the knowledge I had, I probably would have, would have been a little bit more a listening mom, a mom that sits and have more fun. But I think we used to have fun sometimes. Mm-hmm. We used to look at movies, when we can. Yeah, but I think I would have sat down and listened more and I'd have more individual time with each of you when possible and listen to your concerns, and ask your opinions and things. But, coming back from a West Indian background, parents don't value kids' opinion, They had a saying that says, kids are seen but not heard. And, it's that kind of ignorant mentality. But I realize it is so important for children to communicate to their parents. But I did not grow up in an environment where you could express your thoughts or your ideas, So what I did, I thought I was doing the right thing because indeed, none of my children, I cannot remember any time where they spoke back to me. Maybe under their breaths or something like that, but never spoke back to me.
That belt was in good condition. You used to do tricks with the belt, like make it snap a certain way and it'll curl up. Like it's like Thor's hammer. She can go like this and the belt just goes to her hand.
Yeah. What do you think, Guru? Were you raised strict or?
I was raised strict, but I don't hold a lot of that. Like, I don't view a lot of that in any negative light nowadays. Like, I always look at like the generation people were in and just the timing, what they learned, and even imagine myself at that age. And I'm like, I mean, she said it so many times. You're just doing what you know in that moment, and you're doing the best you know, and you're just trying to do better. Right. And in every generation, we just keep trying to do better. So you'll take that and you'll do better. I'll take that and I'll do better, or what we think is better, and then they'll grow up and we'll learn that wasn't better. So
when our kids do a podcast and
and I'm the same way. I don't hold any, like, I'm grateful for the upbringing, even though I kind of wish you would have known about like creative pursuits and recognize like, oh, this guy's hilarious and incredibly talented as
somehow this is sounding embellished.
I think things kind of worked out how they did. So I was able to recognize the sacrifices that you were making, and I think the word you used was hectic. And you were just trying to keep us from making mistakes and having those things impact our lives. Like, you were being proactive.
Yeah, because let me tell you, I have 4 kids and I was a single parent. Y'all getting left at a grocery store. So.
And so I don't hold that against you. I think you were doing the best with the knowledge that you had. And I think that's all that people can do.
Yeah.
One area of, I guess, constructive criticism that I do have would be religion. And we've kind of talked about this on our show.
Can't wait.
That was something that was heavily encouraged in our, what's 10 steps above encouraged?
Demanded?
I would say that's a good word. I would say religion was kind of demanded growing up. There was no choice. And as I got older, it's not that like I ran away from God or ran away from the church. I more so ran away from just the demands or like how rigid our belief systems were. I see God in life and in people's lives and in my own life and in my upbringing. But I'm still trying to come to terms with like that demand where it's like, to me, religion is supposed to be an individual thing. You want to encourage people and say, when people knock on my door and want to give me pamphlets, like I let the dogs out on them. But that's something I wanted to ask you about. And I know you, just like anything else, I know you're doing it from a good place. but it put guilt on me or shame, because it wasn't as if I was to still be strong in the church, it would have been because you were saying this is the right way, this is the only way, this is what you have to do, rather than like me coming to terms with that myself, you know?
You just said the key word. It was the only way. To know God is the only way. And even although you may have questions, that is one area of bringing you guys up in the church that I have no regrets. I may have done it a little differently, but as I look back, I probably would have been stricter.
Whoa.
No, I really mean that.
Whoa. Whoa.
You thought it was bad. I was going to turn it up for real, but I should have turned up on y'all.
Branded y'all with the cross.
I was like, I don't know how much stricter you could have got. Yeah. You are now the property of Jesus Christ.
You're now branded by Christ.
Oh, man.
Yeah, okay. Let me explain.
All right.
When I say I would have been stricter with more knowledge, I don't have regrets at all introducing you to the God who created you, to the God who gave his life for you, to the God who has a better life coming for you. I don't regret that at all. Maybe I did not go about introducing you to him in the correct way. I should have let Jesus become your friend. Mm-hmm. Jesus is someone that loves you, cares for you, and these are the sacrifices he made for you.
I feared him like I feared you.
And he shows you, he says, this is the way, to eternal life. And this is the way to die. There is only two ways in this world. So in that way, I would have done it a little differently in terms of introducing you to who really God is. And if you were to become a friend of God, he has your interests at heart. He wants you to strive. He wants you to be the best you can. And if you were to believe, this podcast can become not only, a podcast in the U.S., it could be global. But, it's all left up to you.
And we talked about this in the podcast. I don't think God is in heaven saying, I'm withholding the success of your podcast because you don't believe in me.
No, I'm not saying that. He would never do that.
Okay.
No. Maybe I meant it. Maybe I said that wrong.
Yes.
No. But what I'm saying, God is with you, and He wants to have the best life. He wants you to have the best life that you can have. That's his goal. And that best life is not only in heaven, but that best life begins now.
Again, with the discipline and the upbringing and the way you introduce religion to us, I don't regret it because, like I said, I was able to take away a lot of morals and just kind of like who I am as being a good person, and learn those principles and kind of take them into like my, even though I'm still a horrible human being, you
still implement some of those
some of those things. So I do appreciate those being instilled in me, but I still think that that relationship is personal, and it was a little bit too demanded.
To add one thing to that, you brought up choice a few times, and that you were never really asked or never really given a choice. When you're a kid, you shouldn't have a choice about certain things.
Thank you.
So it's you truly you don't know what's best. You have no idea. You would eat ice cream for every meal if you could, and even if it wasn't done in the proper way as you might think, or maybe it wasn't, I don't know. But there are things that need to be put in place, and then when you get to a certain age, you make that choice and that decision. So I don't think it should have been asked at a younger age. However, like obviously now you're going on your own journey, you're figuring out what you believe and what you stand in, and like you do have that choice now. So I don't think that choice is necessarily ripped from you.
But I think that's a good point. Before I was 18, you had every right to demand I pray.
It bothered me a lot when you guys grew up and you took your own path. I struggled a lot with that because there was a lot of sadness in my heart. But one day I was talking to my mother and she put it to rest. She said to me, she said, Zena, you taught your children what you knew was right when they were growing up. Now it's up to them to decide what they will choose. And for some reason that day, it never worried me again. Mm-hmm. Because I realize you guys gonna make your own choice. But sometimes it saddens me because I know my goal is to spend eternity with my Lord. And I always wonder, how would it be if Andrew is not there? So that comes across my thoughts sometimes, yeah. But I do understand and I do recognize that you do have a choice. But again, I think that choice was after 18.
Yeah. And I don't know, like I said, I'm still trying to come to terms with it myself. And, I'm not a bad person. I'm not out here
watching Harry Potter.
No, but but not even those things. Like I joke on this podcast a lot because, like I said, we grew up in kind of a rigid religion, whereas like there's different interpretations of the Bible in our religion and our upbringing. You're talking about earrings and tattoos and what you eat and the very minute in what you drink and your body being the temple. And it's just like so much rule based versus like the actual relationship with God. But it's like now that I'm an adult, I don't do anything bad. So when I get to the judgment day, I'm gonna. What did I do? What did I do that was so bad?
So you think
I gave Guru a hard time, but that's it. What am I?
You gonna send me down for that?
Yeah, I broke a few hearts, but what did I do?
Well, what you're doing is really depending upon your own goodness, and if we are talking about the scriptures also says that the heart of man is desperately wicked above all things. Who can know? You don't even know your own wicked heart. You don't even realize how conceited you are. You don't even realize how condescending you are. You don't even realize how negative you are. I mean, in all of that, we have the positive part. But what I'm trying to say, humanity has nothing good in them. You have to look to someone who is goodness and depend upon that person. And even although you may say there was a lot of rules.
No, I don't say there was.
There was a lot of rules. When you really think about life is about good rules. We have health laws. That has nothing to do with God. And if you were to be obedient to health laws, you will never experience certain kind of illnesses. I was so not knowledgeable about different foods. So I developed diabetes really young, like 28. I was diabetic, but I love orange sodas. I never knew that was so detrimental to my health. So what is wrong with trying to treat your body? Because your body is the temple of the Spirit of God. That's where the Spirit lives. And I know Guru will, attest to this.
Yes. Amen.
Yeah, so coming back, I don't think I did anything wrong, but once again, I'm going to go back. Maybe I did not teach you how to get to know Jesus, how to develop a relationship, how to trust him, how to learn to pray, how to see, that when you pray, things happen. God listens, he hears, and he's interested in even the smallest detail of your life. And I think that's where you probably missed out on. And I'm sorry about that. Yeah.
So you kind of think you can get to the gate and say, hear me out.
Yeah. This is a Mother's Day episode. This conversation went a little bit different. It's not so much that I don't have any regrets, and I wouldn't have had any other mom. You were able to take the circumstances you were given, and with the knowledge you had, you always say that the Catholics are successful.
Do well. Yeah.
We do well, not just in the way of careers or just in terms of like who we are as people, you know.
Y'all some good folks, man.
You know, you instilled in it, and I always get that, even though I get criticism sometimes for, you know, I'm still learning and growing and trying to figure out how to be a better person. But people always say that, like, you know, you have a good heart, or like you care about people. And that's something that like we got from you. And that's something that I always remember growing up. You would do anything for anyone. You would take the shirt off your back to give to the next person. We, no matter what we needed, you know, she would find a way to like make that happen. So, you know, I just
meals. You said a few times how she could make something out of pretty much nothing.
Yeah. So, you know, I just want to say, you know, a special Mother's Day appreciation that I have for you.
Well, thank you. And I always want you to remember also, godliness has nothing to do with goodness. And you keep stressing about yourself. Oh, I'm a good person. I'm a good person. Well, there's lots of people who believe in being good to humanity. They have done lots of things in this world, lots of good things, but it has nothing to do with knowing God. That's different altogether.
Right.
Yeah.
Guru, Mother's Day message for the people.
Love you, mommy.
Yeah, just shout out to all the mothers out there. You guys are incredible. You do so much, and yeah, like I said, I would have left them at a bus stop. So.
4 of them. Man.
And closing words that you had. What were you saying?
I would say, all in all, spend time with your kids' mom. Talk to them. Let them have a voice also. I think you just go from there, because life today is very difficult. And I was very fortunate. My children, all in all, they were such good children. I just say do the best you can and pray.
Yes. Well,
strong word.
Yes. Well, we appreciate you coming on, and I think this was a great Mother's Day.
Thank you, Mama
episode.
Bear, for showing up for the people.
Can we give her a round of applause for coming on?
Thank you.
Thank you. And you know, go show love to your mothers.
Please.
And
love you, mommy.
Continue to like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.
Are we doing Father's Day?
Jay with the jokes, funny guy. Drew with the blah blah, telling crazy stories for a lifetime. Kemp got the wisdom for him, like nothing's ever that serious. And if you don't listen, then you're delirious.
Bro, you can't say that. Why not? Because we're live. I just said nothing's ever that serious.